What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We still have Hurricane Erin greatly expanding in size right now as it's about to make impacts to North Carolina. We're also watching two other areas of interest today we will be talking more in depth about. But before we get started, I do want to shout out Weather Kingdom once again. He's been doing a great job with his streams. I was on a stream last night with David Schlotthauer. He'll be out with a video later today talking about it, and I just want to say it's great to have a community. It's great to have all of that happening as well, so thank you for having me on the stream last night, Weather Kingdom, and please go subscribe to him. The link will be the first link in the description down below. Let's try to get him to 1,000 subscribers, so with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So starting off right here, we have Hurricane Erin for you guys right here. Really, the pressure has been dropping pretty quickly, but we're still looking at a Category 2 hurricane at this current point in time. So this is what we got for you right here. Outer bands of large Hurricane Erin expected to bring worsening weather conditions to the east coast of North Carolina by this evening. Beachgoers are cautioned against swimming in most U.S. East Coast beaches due to life-threatening rip currents and surf right there. 100-mile-per-hour hurricane, pressure of 948 millibars, moving west-northwest at 13 miles per hour. At this current point in time, tropical storm warnings are in effect for the outer banks of North Carolina and parts all the way up to the Virginia border. At this current point, tropical storm watches are in effect for Virginia Beach and areas to the north of there, including parts of the Delmarva Peninsula and Bermuda. So that's kind of what we're looking at right there. Erin is a large hurricane. Hurricane force winds extend outwards 90 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward 265 miles from the center. So we're going to want to watch this right here. 2 to 4 feet of storm surge expected for parts of North Carolina right there. And we'll go ahead and show you the discussion. This is the discussion that we have for you right here. The last center fix of an earlier Air Force Reconnaissance Reserve Hurricane Hunter mission found that Erin's central pressure has dropped by a few millibars to 954. This is a few hours ago. This is earlier this morning. Although satellite intensity estimates have increased slightly over the past 6 hours, there is no firm evidence to indicate that the pressure drop has translated into a stronger maximum winds, which are being held at 85 knots, which is 100 miles per hour. So that's kind of what we are dealing with right here. We have a small inner eye wall at around 15 nautical miles from the center, with a pronounced outer ring of convection extending 70 to 90 nautical miles from the center. Another reconnaissance mission is scheduled to investigate Erin in a few hours. So that's something we're going to want to watch. Warm waters, relatively light shear, and upper-level divergence could support some intensification in the next 36 hours or so. However, it is unclear if Erin's broad structure will support much of an increase of maximum winds, despite global models showing the central pressure falling into the 940s millibars. The NHC intensity forecast is closest to the HCCA consensus age, showing some slight strengthening through Thursday. A substantial increase in shear is likely to induce weakening by 48 hours, and Erin is expected to become a post-tropical cyclone by day 4. And going ahead and showing you that guidance right here, we're up to 110 miles per hour. That is their official increase in the next 24 hours. I know David and I were on stream last night talking about this, giving our kind of estimates as to how this potentially could strengthen. We were thinking along the lines of 110, maybe 115 as an absolute max, maybe getting back up to major hurricane strength. And we were discussing that, and part of that was because there's low wind shear. There is still 30 degrees Celsius or 86 degree Fahrenheit waters that is underneath this, and the OHC is still cracking 100 at this current point in time. So that was our two things that we have considered. So that's something to pay attention to right here. Let's go ahead now and show you some of the graphics as well. Starting off with our cone right here, we have tropical storm warnings for eastern North Carolina right here, tropical storm watches for parts of Virginia and the Delmarva Peninsula and Bermuda. This is the wind field we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking at a pretty big hurricane as this approaches North Carolina right here. Just because the system is not going to be making landfall, it doesn't mean it's not going to be producing impacts, and this points it out right here, taking a look at the cone right here. And as you can see, it is expected to remain a hurricane until Saturday, and then it's expected to transition into an extratropical cyclone and then start to weaken from there. And from then on out, it's moving out to sea in the Atlantic, so that won't be too big of a threat until it likely gets towards Europe. And the main threat until then would be shipping concerns, so that is something you are going to want to consider. Looking at your peak surge amounts right here, 2 to 4 feet expected for parts of the of North Carolina right here, especially along the Outer Banks right here. Further inland into North Carolina, 1 to 3 feet. Same thing all the way to the South Santee River in South Carolina, and all the way to Cape May in New Jersey. So this is going to be a pretty big storm, and it's going to cause quite a few impacts. So coastal flooding is expected with this, and we'll keep you updated on that as well. But we also have 2 other areas of interest that we're going to be taking a look at for you guys right here. This area of interest and Invest 99L. Let's go ahead and talk about both of these right here. A tropical wave located over the central tropical Atlantic continues to produce a broad area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions are conducive for gradual development of the system, and a tropical depression could form late this week or over the weekend while it moves north of the northern Leeward Islands. 60% chance of formation in the next 7 days. So we'll talk more about that later in the video. We also have this area of interest, Invest 99L, that has really started to turn up. We're looking at a 40% chance of development already with this system, but here we go. A tropical wave located southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands continues to produce a concentrated area of showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions are marginally favorable for additional development over the next day or so, while the system moves westward at about 15 miles per hour, and a short-lived tropical depression could form. By the end of the week, environmental conditions are expected to become unfavorable for further development. 40% chance in the next 48 hours and 7 days. So those are areas that we're going to want to watch as well. A few other areas of concern we're going to be watching, especially in the next couple of weeks, as the Central American gyre does start to ramp up a little bit more. And we're seeing a more active MJO period towards the end of August and into early September. So those are factors that we're going to want to watch as well, and we will keep you updated here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. So coming back to satellite imagery, we're going to go ahead and get started with Hurricane Erin. It has continued to greatly expand in size over the last few hours. The eye has completely cleared out. Update as the time I'm recording this video, it is now 110 mile per hour Category 2 hurricane moving due north at this current point as it's starting to bring impacts towards the Carolinas right here. We're seeing some storm surge and some tropical storm force winds arriving there shortly, so you're going to want to watch out for that as well. But my goodness, look at how much Erin has expanded in size. There is a little bit of dry air outside of the core right here, so you're going to want to pay attention to that. But my goodness, this is quite the storm. And this is quite the fighter, as I've seen previously. So that's kind of what we got going on with Erin. Let's go ahead and show you what's happened over the last 24 hours right here. Let's go ahead and go to 144 frames. Started to reorganize, started to consolidate as it moved more so to the north, and then it started to have a little bit of dry air, but then its eye started to clear out once again, and it's a much larger system than it was 24 hours ago. It was more compact. Now it's a lot more spread out. So at this current point, we're going to have to watch and see what happens, but still, you're going to see impacts along the east coast of the United States as this moves through this region right here, as it moves in this northwestern Atlantic. So as we're looking at right now, it's about to cross into the subtropics. It actually has crossed into the subtropics right now. So we're going to have to pay attention and see how this will ultimately pan out. But now let's go ahead and take a quick look at this other area of interest right here. Let's go ahead and zoom towards the central Atlantic. Because what we have for you right here, actually hold up, let's go ahead and put this to 30 frames right here, just to give you an idea of what's going on with this. But you're seeing more consolidated convection starting to blow up. There is some of those popcorning convection we always talk about right there, where stuff fires up for a little while, then it calms down, then it fires up again, then it calms down. But ultimately, it's definitely becoming more organized, and we're definitely seeing more convection from this, so we're going to want to watch out for that as well. Another thing to consider, too, is the potential shear that Erin might be influencing. It's actually moving a little slower than what we were originally anticipating. Similarly, this area of interest is actually moving a little quicker than what we thought it would happen, so we'll have to watch for both of those factors as well. So that's kind of what we have for you right here with this area of interest right here. Still a 60% chance of formation right here. It's just at this point, we're going to have to see how this will pan out, and we'll have to see how this will ultimately develop down the road. And then going even further east in the Atlantic, let's go ahead and show you Invest 99L. Right here, we have this really starting to consolidate and really starting to turn up across parts of the tropics right here. Southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, we're seeing pretty sustained convection right here from 99L. I would not be surprised if in the next day or so this becomes a tropical depression, especially as this system pans out. But then we have another tropical wave behind that as well. It's a pretty strong and healthy wave as well, as it's coming towards the coast of Africa right here, currently over Mauritania and Senegal. Right there. It's really producing a lot of convection. That is going to kind of decrease a little bit as time goes on, but that's another wave you are going to want to watch as well for tropical development, because my goodness, the MDR is really active right now. We had Erin, now we have this area of interest, 99L, and now we have that one. We're going to have to watch very closely what happens over the next few days, and we'll keep you updated right here on the channel. But let's go ahead now and look at some models for you guys. Let's go ahead. We're going to look at the operational runs for Erin and for the bunch of other stuff right here. So we're going to want to keep a close eye on what's going on. Hold on one second. Here's what we got for the European. We'll start with the European and the GFS and the rest of the models right here. European has Erin continuing to move towards North Carolina right here. European, interestingly, does want this system to hold up right here. This is, let me go ahead and refresh this. This is this is now the recent run we have for you right here. European has the system moving towards North Carolina right here. Then it's starting to drift out to sea while starting to tug this other area of interest over here in the main development region further to the north, as this has moved a bit slower than we originally thought it would. So it's going to kind of pull it out into parts of the Atlantic right here, and then from there it might potentially develop a closed low, potentially organize into something a little bit strong as it approaches the subtropics right there. Maybe forms a subtropical storm. We'll have to watch out for that as well. But then after that, in terms of 99L, it doesn't look like it's going to be too big of a situation according to the European. However, the 99L is something we're going to have to nowcast compared to forecast because of the development and how quickly those conditions will start to deteriorate. So we're going to have to watch out for that as well. But then more so in the long term, it does start to calm down for a little bit. So we'll have to pay attention and see what happens moving forward, especially as we go into September right here. That's your European right here. Let's go ahead and show you the GFS. GFS is pretty interesting, having the system head towards North Carolina, then having this area of interest right here starting to organize and develop. The GFS actually has this gap to tropical storm strength right here as it's approaching the subtropics right here, potentially hurricane strength as well as it heads potentially towards Newfoundland right there. So that's a bit of a difference right here compared to what we've seen previously. In regards to 99L, doesn't do too much with it, but that's a storm we're going to have to nowcast instead of forecast. I will say the GFS's system, while it does seem a little outlandish, is actually somewhat realistic given the potential conditions that are over there, and we'll watch out for that as well, so we'll have to pay attention to that. But then the GFS does do something pretty interesting. Around late August, the GFS does initialize something from the Central American gyre, but just for my own curiosity, I'm going to check the vorticity on this just to see where this originates from. If this originates from South America, I'm going, yeah, okay, probably not. We'll have to see what happens, but looking at this right here, it does look like it does originate from Central America right here, so we could potentially see a waking up of the Central American gyre right here around August 30th or so, especially with the more active MJO expected for that region as well. So moves through the Yucatan, then it enters the Gulf region right here, really intensifies, but by the time we get to this point, we're like 384 hours out, so please do take that with a grain of salt. But by the time we get to right about here, it does start to develop about 10 days out, so we're going to want to watch this, but at the same time, there are a few issues with it. With the vorticity and all of that stuff, so we'll have to pay attention to it down the road. But that's the GFS for you right here. Not unrealistic, but at the same time a little outlandish with the intensity, so we'll have to watch out for that. Canadian model has Erin moving off to sea right here. Then it has this area of interest over here, 99L, I believe, forming a closed low before moving out into the subtropics right here. Does have a few things happening in the Atlantic, but we'll have to pay attention to that moving forward. Let's go ahead and show you the icon run as well. Icon is a bit too high with the intensity with Erin, but the icon does have something trying to develop north of the Leeward Islands right there that we're going to want to watch out for. And similarly to the GFS, it does have a closed low. Potentially a tropical depression is possible with this, but we will have to pay attention to that moving forward. So that's kind of your situation with the operational models across the Atlantic. Now I want to look at the conditions and go, okay, after Erin passes, what's the next big thing going to be, and what kind of conditions are we potentially going to see with this? So with that being said, let's start with the water temperatures right now. Here is your water temps right here. As you can see, Erin has left a little bit of a cold wake in parts of the southwestern Atlantic due to its intensity and its slower than expected movement right here. We're going to want to watch that, but I don't see too big of an issue with this at this current point. I think it's going to recover quite easily over in this region right here, especially as we start to go into late August and into early September as well. In terms of the other stuff as well in the MDR, you're looking at 28 plus degrees Celsius waters. And in the western MDR, 29 to 30 degrees Celsius is springing up all over the place right here. But looking at the Caribbean over here, we're looking at around 29, 30, 31 degrees Celsius across much of the northwestern Atlantic right here, especially where the heat is mostly concentrated. Then the Gulf, my goodness, you're looking at 31 degrees Celsius waters, which is about 88 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you living in the United States. All across the Gulf, from the Florida coast to the Loop Current to off Louisiana and Texas right there. It's not going to be very comfortable to swim in, and it's going to be even less comfortable to really see a potential tropical cyclone develop there. So we're going to want to pay attention to that as well. OHC continues to be very interesting as well. Ocean heat content, my goodness, look at the Gulf right here. The Loop Current is primed for development. The Caribbean is primed for development. All over the place, actually, not just in the northwestern Caribbean, but in the eastern part as well. Western MDR primed for development. Southwestern Atlantic, even after Erin, is still primed for development as well. So you're going to want to keep that in mind. In parts of the Eastern MDR, not exactly primed for development, in my opinion, but something could pop up over there, and if it moves far enough to the west and enters that OHC, it definitely could strengthen down the road. So that's what we had for you guys for the ocean heat content. Taking a quick gander at the wind shear, let's go ahead and pull back the European, and just to kind of give you an idea, because this is a pretty interesting, okay, this is the easy fast. Here's the European. It is pretty interesting, in my opinion, to take a quick gander at this, looking at the wind shear in general, because what I'm more concerned about is kind of, okay, what's Erin's wind shear field going to do with that slower motion right here? And it appears to me that, at least for right now, Erin's wind shear field will kind of stay out of this area of interest right there, at least for the time being, and it might be impacted by this tut over here that's being influenced by it. There is a stronger period of wind shear entering parts of the MDR, and especially the southern half of it, so you're going to want to watch this, but going out 5+ days, the Caribbean opens up some more. You're looking at the MDR starting to collapse again. This is typical August wind shear pattern where things start to flare up and then collapse after a couple of days. And then 10 days out, you do see a bit of wind shear pick up in parts of the Gulf and in parts of the Caribbean as well. But the wind shear does weaken in that region right there, so you're going to want to pay attention to that as well, and especially as we get towards early September, where the GFS, Central American Gyre System, starts to organize. That decrease in wind shear is definitely noteworthy, so you're going to want to watch that going forward. That's your wind shear right here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the moisture component for you guys. Moisture is going to become less and less of a hindrance right here. You're looking at less and less dry air across much of the Atlantic. You have all these waves moving into the MDR. And yes, there could be some dry air in the Caribbean, but that could easily moisten up as well. You're in a time frame right now, and you're also in a time of hurricane season where you're not going to really see that much dry air hinder tropical cyclones if it can mix it out pretty efficiently. So you're going to want to pay attention to that as well. But looking at this right now, yes, there is some more dry air moving into the Atlantic in the long term, but I will say that is more mixable at this current point, and is a bit concerning as well for at least tropical development down the road. At least based on these patterns right here, this does look like a similar to last year, where this could be potentially more of a backlogged season, as we've noted previously. Because I remember with 2024, we didn't really see that much activity until this last half of September. We had Debbie, we had Ernesto, we had Francine and all of that, but then the big stuff started blowing up around the last 2 weeks of September, so this could be another setting right here for that, but we'll keep you updated on that here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. The goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. Shout out to Weather Kingdom once again. His channel will be in the description down below. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.